Hello. So this is Holly Beatty, the Joyful Warrior, Spirit Initiated Shaman, and I am bringing to the global community looking for shaman training and a shamanic awakening, and just really understanding, a street level of what shamanism is. A training called The Shaman in You. And, I've been doing this program for a little over 12 years. And usually I do it in small cohorts of people in, retreat locations. This is really the first time that I'm bringing it to a larger global community online. And of course, it's well over time to do that. And I've held it close because I just get so much out of the direct interaction with people. It's just something that I personally love. So I love the retreat atmosphere. But the online experience is challenging me because it actually is calling me to break the program down even more. So it's in 12 or 9 different increments, but it's going over 12 months in this program. And I'm really glad because I'm realizing that it's really important to give even more incremental steps. We are all becoming shaman. It's not a cultural um, birthright. You could say it's a natural push in evolution, really. And the shamans have been with us in indigenous cultures since the beginning of time, providing us insight and direction from the other side of the veil, being able to communicate easily with spiritual beings and the natural world, and the truth of all reality being vibrational and not concrete. More people are just waking up with this natural potential, and we are all seeking how to bring it into our day to day, how to really be able to access the mystery and find within it the simplicity. And so that's really my specialty. And hopefully, I am a friendly teacher and approachable in every way. um, so I really look forward to hearing from all of you that are joining me on this 31-day journey that we're having here in December to just hear stories and have some experiences, uh, getting a glimpse of what it means to live a shamanic life, and taking some steps into exploring your own shamanic ability. The word shaman means to see with the heart. So this is really about opening our hearts and learning how to feel and not stepping out of feeling, so that we're always able to perceive what is around us at all times. It's also about learning how to taste our own soul so that we know what our soul signature tastes like and what our divine blueprint feels like, and that we don't trade that inner guidance for anything else, for money, for uh, an idea of love. True love never asks us to negotiate our soul for anything, for sex, for power, for significance, or security of any kind. So, it's about surrender. It's about surrender to faith and love, and the will of the higher self instead of the personal will of the ego. It involves all of that. It is the path of enlightenment. And as we drop into this path more and more and more of our essence, our spiritual essence, takes up residence inside of our time body, our expression in this time and form with which we're engaging, and enlightens it. That is enlightenment. So open your hearts, bang them open with me. Join me on this journey. So today is day 3. Now, each day I'm just really asking Spirit which story wants to come. And yesterday we are talking about the boy on the bridge who thought he could fly. It gave me glimpses of an image when I began speaking about the spirits of the land of a woman that I once met when I needed help. So at one time, I lived in Folsom, California. Now, I don't know where you live, but there's been songs written about Folsom Prison by, I think it's Johnny Cash, and Willie Nelson was there. And so it's got a little bit of notoriety. It's a really, you know, I always think prisons are horrific places, but it's been a prison for a very long time right there in Folsom. Now, Folsom itself is this enchanting, beautiful place. It's sits on a part of the river that's coming down from the Tahoe Mountains. So you have the North Fork and the South Fork and the Middle Fork of the American River coming down from the snow melts in Tahoe that pour into Sacramento. And even before the dam was there was a path of the whitewater aspect, what you'd call of the lower American River. Now it comes out of Folsom Lake, which is a fun place to go with your family for a picnic and swim. But you know, it used to have a natural waterway there. It's had a bank along the water for well, let's just say into the Neolithic ages. So, you know, some people say that the Earth has been here for billions of years with life on it, and we've gone through many civilizations, billions, millions, thousands. It doesn't really matter to me. All I know is what I see directly and what I've seen along the banks of Folsom, the waterway there that they called Negro Bar for a long time. And it pours into Lake Natoma, which then goes out now to the Lower American through like the Fair Oaks area and down to the downtown area where it pools and connects with the Sacramento River, which is more of a wide, still river, and goes out to the Delta into the San Francisco Bay. So just to paint you a little picture of where I am in this experience, I'm living in a house that's right along that waterway, right there in Folsom. Now, also, it's important to understand that Folsom is a place where during the gold rush, it was a hub where people would come from all over to trade their gold for money. So they had a little, you could say it was the first really Western downtown gold rush town that was not still in like the foothills. It was getting down into the valley. Yeah, other areas up in El Dorado Hills and Coloma and all the places higher along the river where they also, of course, had gold mines. All along those rivers, there's been gold mines. Take a sip of something. Drinking celery juice this morning. For those of you who know medical medium, got to get the celery in. So what I saw along this waterway while I was living there was a woman that lived there during the time when the Mayan people would migrate. So the Mayan people used to go up and down from Latin America up into North America like birds. They would come up and they would work the land with whatever they needed, and they would go down. So you had Native American tribes that lived here permanently, but even before their more permanent settlements, there was nomadic Mayan migrations happening. And you can read stories about this, and it's held in the consciousness, in the epigenetics of the Mayan people. Now, even the Mexican people, to migrate up and down like birds, that understand the seasonal relationship that we are meant to have naturally with the earth. So, this woman that I met, she was Mayan. And when I met her, she was wearing a Mayan headdress and golden embellishments, turquoise. She was wearing animal skins, and she was standing on the water itself. Of course, she was a spirit, not in physical form any longer. But I met her because I had asked to meet the guardian of the land. Within the spirits of the land, the conscious native, indigenous, and or past civilizations that had positive consciousness, like I was mentioning yesterday, there are beings, there are light beings of consciousness that are aware of who they are and where they come from, like what time within our timeline they lived. And they understand that they're not living anymore, but they're not in distress, and they don't need to be assisted to go someplace else. Tomorrow, I feel maybe, yeah, I'll share a story about, meeting a spirit that needed help and assistance crossing over to the other side. Since I was 3, I've been able to see spirits on the other side. So it's all really normal to me. Anyway, so this woman came when I called to meet the guardian of the land. And I called for her or him, I didn't know who it would be, because I was in a real pickle. I was in a real challenging situation. I had moved into a house in a little subdivision that was so cute, like little cookie cutter homes that were so enchanting, right on the water's edge that got connected to the bike trail there. And I just was so happy to be in that location, to have access to the water. But it turned out to be haunted, and not in a good way, like in a poltergeist, really gross, disgusting way. So let me explain. Like I said, the gold rush was there. And during the gold rush times, this little subdivision, which was interestingly enough called the Preserve, and it wasn't that far, really just across the way from an active cemetery. So maybe I shouldn't have moved there in the first place, but it was a really beautiful cemetery and had really beautiful brick walls around it. And it didn't really seem like it was going to interfere with anything. But that's another part of the story. So I had just opened my first yoga and wellness studio called Joyfolution. And I was 6 months in, and I realized that being closer would be really helpful for me. And I thought this neighborhood was really enchanting, and the rent was really low. I could get a 3-bedroom place for just $1,600. Do you remember when rent was that low? Anyway, but it was just down the street, from Old Folsom, where all of the old buildings that were like the saloons and the gold changing banks and, um, the mercantile stores and the taverns and, the soda shops, whatever, they were all right there, right? but they were kind of up the street a ways. So I was across the street and down the way and closer to the water's edge. And then the old Folsom was like higher up on the same hill and even really the same street, which was also really awesome to live near all of that. So I thought I was in this great place and I could ride my bike to the studio. And I was just really so happy to be here. But the first night that I stayed the night after we moved in, I was visited. And I was visited by three old Chinese people and Chinese ancestors. Okay. So they were older Chinese. They were a woman and um, a man. And like the third figure actually was kind of indistinguishable, more like smoky. I couldn't really quite see, but I think it was a man too. Anyways, these three Chinese elders or ancestors, they came to me actually while I was like washing my hair in the shower that night, and they showed me something. So this is also, normal for me. They took me on like a little vision in to teach me something, and they showed me a altar with rice and oranges and incense, and they were showing me that I should do that in the house, that I should have an altar like that in the house. And I didn't really have any understanding or awareness of a Chinese protocol, authentic Chinese protocol for giving offerings to ancestors. And I didn't really know why they were asking me to do this. But because all of my training really has come like on a street level from having capacity to perceive and then not really going into any training per se, except for this spirit called the chief, the Native American spirit that guides me. And in the beginning, the first few years really of having this more heightened capacity that I received in 2005 when he sort of gave me a magic pipe. I just didn't know what I was encountering. And what I thought was that I didn't want to do what they said, because if I did what they said, then I would be in their service. That's something to know about spirits that ask you to do things. You don't want to just give your service or your prayers to just any spirit that's saying you should. That's a whole other, it's an unpacking and a part of the training. You have to really understand who you're dealing with. And in this moment, I just didn't know who I was dealing with, and I didn't really want to put myself in their service. So I ignored them. I basically told them that you're not my ancestors, and I'm sorry that your descendants are not here, but that's just not what I'm supposed to do. Now, a couple of weeks later, I did learn when I started walking the neighborhood more and getting to know it, that I was living on land that was, well, there was a park inside the neighborhood, and it was a park that honored the Chinese immigrants that had come to work during the gold rush. And so basically it was an unmarked grave site for the Chinese immigrants. Now they called it Negro Bar because on the other side of the water, which is very, very beautiful, this whole place, it has like these small but beautiful red clay banks that are on one side is really high. And so you look up and now there's like nice homes on the edge of it and a little park, little places to walk. but on the side that I was living, it's like the downside of the river, and it's, you know, where the river turns is all lower there, and of course all of that land was dredged by um, the companies and the individuals. I'm sorry for any interruption there. It looks like my internet just timed out for a second. Now it's back. So hopefully we'll pick up where we started, or somehow I'll put these two reels together. Um, so anyways, what I was saying is that the the river right there is called Negro Bar. And on the other side of where I was living, it was the Black people that they had brought in that actually were free, but there was a place for Africans and also Caribbeans that Caribbean people with dark skin, and they had a camp on the other side, and they were working in that space up and down the gold rush. But you know, free is a kind of a, you know, it's a leading way of saying they had more individual right to choose who they were working for. They were not slaves, but so they had a little bit better life there. But in general, all the immigrants that were brought in to work were indentured servants on some level and had a hard life, of course. So there was pain. There was pain in their experiences there. And because partly because in part because of the gold rush, the jail developed pretty early on, you know, which kind of grew in eventually into Folsom Prison. Because there were so many men seeking the gold there, and all of the drinking and everything that was around it, and all of the fighting that went with it. And so it was just like, you know, so the place that I was living in, these little pretty homes, actually was built on top of unmarked graves of Chinese immigrants. And I would later learn that the ancestors that came to me, these Chinese ancestors, the first night that I was there in the shower, they were not Chinese immigrants who had died there. They were actually, I met them again. They they're still there, ancestors of those immigrants who came here. And they had come to offer protection and assistance in their journey. And because the the descendants that they followed were buried there, they stayed. They stayed in that land, and they do actually have descendants of their in their ancestry lineage of people that live still nearby. And actually, I met some of them, and that's how I later unpacked what I didn't know. I So I'll kind of get to that, but so in this experience that I'm having, um, I'm there the first night. I don't know why, you know, they're there, and I don't know about the graveyard yet that I'm living on top of. But I know that there's something off a couple weeks in too, because I am looking around at the eyes of the people that live in the neighborhood with me, and everybody has this weird kind of possessed look, like they just look like they're a little robotic in their eyes in the light. Like when I walk by people and say hi, they're like kind of like, and there's an energy to their uh that's kind of like cringy, like a cringy energy. My children, who were about 8 and 10 at this time, they made friends with a couple of kids down the street. And one day I went into their house in the first month that we're living there, and there's a cross on the wall as soon as I come in. But there's also all of these proverbs from the Bible written in paint, like all over the walls. And I thought that was really weird. They had taken prayers and written them in paint on the walls inside. They were a religious family. I didn't, think it was too odd because it was done sort of nicely, decoratively, but it was just like a little something to pay attention to. So, yeah, the there was a moment around that same time, the first month or so, where the woman next to me that lived right next to me, she had some health problems, and she had found some scorpions in her house. Just like little weird things, nothing really major. And I don't really want to tell you all of what happened, but as the months progressed, um, my children started being attacked viscerally and physically, energetically, projectile vomiting, uh, other things that I want to tell you, but I don't want to tell you. I'll just say there was one moment where my son was prevented from breathing, and nothing that was normal would work. There was no reason that he couldn't breathe. He was just on the ground, on the floor, and nothing in his mouth or anything. There was just something constricting his chest. That was overcome, but it's something that he still can remember happening today, and was a initiation in his own journey of becoming a shaman. But in any event, I started to do all kinds of things, trying all kinds of things to identify what was happening. My boyfriend at the time and I started fighting incessantly, and it was like something would come over us, and neither one of us was like acting normally. So that was also happening. So it was just, if you've ever seen any of the poltergeist movies, it was just not quite that Hollywood, but it was filled with really bizarre sorts of things that were dark and angry. And so I got up the courage to try to assess what was happening. Several times I tried things. And the first thing that came to me was a power animal. It was a white unicorn. And power animals can be very, very, very powerful. And this creature stood in the center of our living room and stayed there like as a sentry for a couple of months, actually. And things got better, things got easier. So calling upon a power animal to help me like hold a good space in my space. This was like my intuitive way of changing the energy, just like the neighbor down the street painted proverbs from the Bible on her walls, just unconsciously not knowing why she was doing it, but also doing something to claim this space as her sacred space in her way, in her Christian way. So then I started having more experiences with people around the community actually like giving me real dirty looks. It's like, then I got to start to see, oh, there's a consciousness here that's like, it's like real. And then it was like in the news around the corner from me, around like 2 blocks away from me in the same neighborhood, there was a sinkhole that just like something in the sidewalk just collapsed and like went down forever and nobody knew. So there was just like a lot of material things happening too, and it felt like it was escalating. So this was the first time I actually called somebody for help and like reached out to another shaman teacher because I'd always been a little hesitant to ask any other embodied people actually about shamanism because it's been hard to find good teachers, really. And but Hank Wesselman was somebody that I worked with for quite a while. From time to time, went to his workshops, and I recommend reading all of his works and doing his online courses. He's brilliant. He's passed now, and as his wife, who I cherish both of them in my hearts. Just uh, but at the time, yeah, I called him and I said, Hank, I think I'm in trouble. I don't know what's happening. Like I'm having all of these weird things, health things and mental health things, and just out of the blue things and things that feel like there's actually demonic consciousness actively working in my house. And he said, well, welcome to an initiation experience. Guess you're going to deepen what you know. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, go on to the other side and, figure it out. He was never a teacher to tell anybody else what to think of something. He always said, go to the spirit. And that's why I loved him so much. Why I love him so much. So that's what I did. I went to the other side and I met this woman. That's how I met her. I prayed and prayed for something of goodness and holiness within the land that I was living on to connect with, to help me clear what this was. Now I have a very strong connection with the goddess Pele. And in a future story, I'll tell you about how I met her. But I didn't have that at this time. I didn't have the earth elemental beings or some sort of a god or goddess or angelic helper in the earth itself to assist me in changing it. So, so let me talk for just a second about the earth. The earth itself can, it soaks up the vibration of what happens upon it. And when bloodshed happens over and over in a place, in a bad way, in a horrific way, in an evil way, the blood of that energy will soak into the earth itself, and it will become sludge. So it's like you're energetically walking through that part of the earth, also through the memory of all that pain. And sometimes with that, consciousnesses that are not benevolent, that are demonic, can reside, can feel at home, and take up residence. And there was something there. So I could feel that. So I was digging deeper than that. I was going underneath the pain to find the love. And in any situation and in any place you're in, no matter what it is, there's always love that is deeper, that is truer than the pain that is present. It's true within us as well. So I was searching for an ally to assist me. And I met this Mayan priestess, basically the healer of her times, thousands, maybe 1,000,000 years ago. She showed me something. She showed me that that particular stretch of land was not only fought over during the gold rush for all the gold, but that it actually had been a place where many different tribes over the years, Native American tribes, had also fought because of the rich resource that it represented. So it wasn't a place where people came and had moments of peace and cooperation, not since the time that she lived there. And she showed me the time, how it was when she lived there, and there was a lot of ice and snow. It was like closer to an ice age time. And like like it wasn't the Ice Age, but it was recent from that time. And it just had snow, and it doesn't normally snow there. But then it was like a springtime that she showed me as well. So what she showed me is that it was so rich with resources for fishing, for minerals, for beauty, for the water itself, that it had been a place where there had been bloodshed for thousands of years before the gold rush. And then I also was shown that actually where I was living, it before it was a graveyard for the Chinese immigrants, it actually was the place where the city center was closer to the water, and that um, there was taverns there. So there was visions I had where the darkness really set in, that had to do with men killing men in drunken brawls, where the tavern was. And that's where she showed me the darkness started, in a more conscious level, with a demonic entity that could live there because there already was sludge that was the same vibration that could be a host, and that there was beings, people that were, you could say, possessed, that were interacting with each other in drunkenness. So what's interesting about being a shaman, when you really get clear, when you have the ability to see the other side, when you're wide awake with consciousness and you're not altered by any plant substances, is you can get really clear and make sense, actually, and have conversations with beings on the other side. I wouldn't say this happened in an instant. It took several different journeys for me using the drum to get to the other side and kind of unpack all of this. But what Hank was telling me is go do your job, go do your job. And so I was like, okay. So I met her. And finally I said, well, you know, um, what should I do? And she said, you know what she said? She said, Holly, this is too big for you. She said, you're just learning, and this would require a circle of experienced shaman to remove. So you need to move. And I was, now this is kind of the funny part. Like, first of all, everybody that I told about this, besides my children, and some good friends that were sensitives, one woman that stayed the night once and had some visions, didn't believe me. Everybody at that time was thinking I was crazy anyways. I was saying I was a shaman. It was just 2009. And yeah, so I was used to that. My ex-husband thought I was crazy, but it was challenging being a mother at this time and having all these experiences. But that's why I say I've broken some trail. I had some pioneering experiences. So this woman, she fortified. She said, I can hold it for you for a while. But really what this area needs is more of your kind that can come and lift it. So I said, well, what should I do in the meantime while I'm moving? She said, go to the Chinese restaurant. Go have dinner at the Chinese restaurant. And I was like, what? So there's a Chinese restaurant in Old Folsom. It's still there, called Hop Sing. And my father used to always take me there to eat dinner when I was growing up in high school. And so I knew that there was a Chinese restaurant just up the street. And she said, go have dinner there. So what she had to give me was advice and visions of the past so I could understand what I was standing upon, and that she could hold it for a while, but that, you know, she couldn't hold it forever because it needed people in bodies to move the energy. And she needed help from Shaman to connect with her to do more of that work. So I was in over my head. So I went to the Chinese restaurant. I went to say, "Hey kids, let's go have Chinese food." And we went to the restaurant, and I didn't know why I was there, but while I was there, I went to the restroom. And while I went to the restroom, I passed this little like a folding the doors that are kind of like dividers um as I was walking, and I noticed a bowl of rice and oranges and incense. It was the vision of the altar that I had, and the first night I was there with the Chinese elders that came to me. And I was like, oh gosh, I so I talked to a waitress. I said, "Hey, why do you have this out?" And she said, "So that our ancestors will protect us." She went into a little bit about, she learned it from her grandmother and her mother. It was just something that they did. We had kind of an extensive conversation about it. And I said, "Well, I can kind of see spirit sometimes. And I was shown that I should put this up in my house, but I'm not Chinese. And I just thought it was kind of weird." So she said, "Well, if they came to you, then, it's yours to do." And so then I finally was willing to give my will over to the Chinese elders and be of service so that they would help protect my house, which is what they offered to do the first night I was there. Yeah, growing pains. So I did that. I did that. And also she said to me, that's also partly why we wear jade, so that the spirits will come and they'll protect us, but they don't touch us. Jade can help prevent spirits from touching you. So I didn't know that. And that's true. So get some jade if you want to. So I immediately got jade amulets for myself and my kids. And the energy started to shift when I put out the rice and the incense and the oranges and apologized to put on the drum uh, music and closed my eyes and went into the place where I asked for forgiveness for being arrogant and not listening. And the unicorn said, "Thank you for listening, because this has not been working. Sometimes you need more than one ally on the other side." And um, what I also realized was that the unicorn was working actually really just fine, but I had a lot of doubt. And when you have doubt in your heart with the spirits that are helping you, you lit that's the crack that lets the demons in, basically. If you have a doubt, you let the demons in. And I was learning that at this time. I didn't know it yet, but I was learning it through this experience. Later I would come to understand it more fully. So the finale to this experience, as I put all my things in boxes, my kids and I started sleeping at our yoga studio. The yoga studio didn't do so well. I ended up closing after a year. I ended up needing to move out of the area entirely, actually. At that point, it was just, the whole experience um, pulled me sideways in one sense, for like business and security. But on another level, it gave me something that you can't get out of reading a book. It gave me experience that has given me the capacity to understand things that I'm sharing with you. So the finale to it is I had this girlfriend that wanted to she wanted to experience the feeling of what I was talking about. And because everyone thought I was crazy and she was interested and supportive, I said, okay, well, you can come over and just kind of feel. She's a sensitive girl. I brightened at the thought of her. Well, she's like, let's go and feel it. So I invited her over. We're sitting on the boxes in the house. I hadn't lived there for like a month, but I hadn't had a place yet to move. And all of a sudden, I could see that the energy of this entity was kind of working with her in a weird way. She wanted to sort of, oh, I know what we were doing. We were penduluming. I said, well, let's get a pendulum and I'll write the alphabet down. And so this is like more weird woo-woo stuff that I don't really do. But she wanted to do this, and I was just happy to have a friend to talk to about it. It was the wrong thing to do, actually. It was stupid. But, you know, I think we were drinking wine. I was trying to make light of the whole thing. It was really stupid on a level of like shamanic mastery, but on another level of just being a girl, a single mom, and having a girlfriend and trying to make light of it and pendulum it, just, yeah. So that's what I was doing. And the pendulum actually spelled out the word kill. And that was really weird. And then she looked like she was kind of getting connected with the sludge of it all. So I was like, oh God, we gotta get out of here. We gotta get out of here right now. And she's like kind of off feeling to me. So I didn't know what to do. I said, let's go to the bookstore. Let's just go to the bookstore and see if there's something that can inspire some greater awareness to open a door like that, to try to pendulum within a demonic situation, was inviting something of a connection with it, right? So instead of asking for protection from it, I played around with opening up to it. And then I had really strong connection with my heart and my higher self at that point, but my friend didn't. And it created an intrusion where now she was a little possessed. Like I said, all the neighbors had been. So I went to the bookstore with her and I'm looking in like the spiritual section. I don't know why I thought to do that, but I saw a Ouija board. But the Ouija board was not a normal one. It was one that uh it had all these saints on it. So it was something where you moved the top thing like the Ouija to go to the different letters and stuff, but instead of having that, it went to different saints. And then it had like little sayings. So it was like really positive, basically. And it had archangels on it, all the kinds of different archangels and saints. So I'm like, I felt a magnetic pull to it. So I said, let's just pull it down and do it here. So we went into the little kids section of Barnes and Nobles and we opened the game. And I said, okay, let's just put our hands on this and just ask for help. Like, what's needed in this situation? And the thing just slid. It just slid. I was asking for guidance and I was sincere about it, and it just slid and it landed right on this, the circle landed right on a picture of Archangel Michael. And it said the word underneath of it, banish. That's what it said underneath his picture. And like, I'm getting goosebumps right now. And I was like, I've never actually worked with the Archangel Michael, never asked for his assistance. I've never, I didn't come to this very, I was raised Christian, but I was not working from a necessarily a Christian place, not from a Christian place. I've always worked with Christ, but I've never asked Michael for help. So right there, she and I just held hands, and I said, okay, I need to help clear your system. And so, and I need help clearing the house. So I'm just going to ask the Archangel Michael to come into my heart and to assist me with this. So I did it silently. Closed my eyes. We held hands right there in the Barnes and Noble. I did call my different power animals to me, and the chief, the whole time the chief was there with me, trying to help me do the right thing. But, I can be a little bit like irreverent and hard to guide. I'm wilder. I'm a wilder. So this is the first time I connected with the Archangel Michael. Actually did come. And in this moment, clearing up her system was like done immediately. It was no issue at all. But then the Archangel Michael said, okay, we're going to go into the house. And I want you to do it from here. So he and I went into the house. And then he showed me that I should call the Mayan woman. I call her the golden princess. She was a golden Mayan princess to me. I called her. And the unicorn and the eagle that helps me and the mountain lion and the bear and all of the different beings and the chief. But now Michael was in charge of everything. And he said, okay, this is what we need to do. And he took out a sword of light. And he went to where that demon was, that was underneath the ground of the entire area. And he ran him through. He ran him through with the sword, and then he opened up a sliver in the dimensions, and he put him in a different dimension. And he said, I'll take care of that. So as the first time I learned how to work with Michael and receive his assistance for banishing a demon. And that demon's gone. And I didn't have other shamans to help, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew enough to let affinity carry me. Affinity is something that feels like inspiration to go in a particular direction. It feels a little bit like falling in love inside of your body on a physical level. And when you don't know what to do and you need to do something, you can always follow affinity, and it will guide you to your next step, your next healing step, the step that gives you healing in some way, guidance in some way, resolve, opening, whatever it is that you need. So this is kind of a crazy story. You might think I'm crazy, even crazier now. But those that participated in this experience with me, the girl that came to my house and had wine, the children, even I think the boyfriend at the time, yeah, he was like not quite at that consciousness, but he definitely witnessed everything that happened with the kids and was like, this is not normal. Yeah, it was all very real for all of us that were kind of in it. And also from it, I have gained, I gained a deepening in my understanding of how to have respect for the ancestors, the spirits of the land, the guardian of a particular land, and the goodness and the love that is always in existence within the pain. You could say deeper than the pain, more centered to the core of something than any of the pain on the surface of something, and how it's okay to ask for help and that we need to. So, all of this teaching is found within the shaman training, not just the stories, but actually the how to's. Thanks for listening, and I'll share another story with you tomorrow. Okay.